Bueno chicos, aparece BLITZCRANK en esta partida. Bienvenidos al segundo game entre Katie y ROLSTER contra Gen.G. Ya podéis ver cómo Gen.G se ha llevado el primer mapa. Lo podéis ver el game 1 en el canal. Y nada, vamos a ver qué tal sale la cosa. BLITZCRANK para Gen.G. Sin duda un pick de estos traviesos, un pick que teníamos ganas de ver. Repiten también esa Cira jungla. Y vamos a ver si Katie puede meter tablas en la partida, en esta serie, o si no, se pondrá 0-2 Gen.G y se proclamará líder en solitario en esta LCK. Disfrutad de la partida, chicos.
All right, pretty even spread when it comes to the yelling as Lahens. Oh, I do like it. We had Jonah Strong trying to keep us in the dark there as much as possible. But the hook is not going to connect. BDD just a little bit further away from the brush. But let's see. Let's see whether Deft is once again going to be in exactly the wrong spot, having to blow flash very early on, whether this time around he is going to learn. Because I think it's one thing to pull out the Zyra and have that performance in game number 1. It would be another thing if KT walk into the same pitfalls again straight away.
There's no way. I still, don't get me wrong, expect KT to fall behind considerably in the early game.
Looks like KT kind of knew what was going on here. Still, they have to blow the heal as Beryl gets the flash off just in time. That rocket grab perfectly placed by Lahens, because you just kill these camps so incredibly fast. As Beryl is going to get hooked, and they hadn't backed. And he's not going to be able to heal. He does manage to get himself the shield, but that is once again first blood. This time, no Canyon required for the secondary portion.
It's the same game.
Yeah, it's the same game. As there's the flash hook, and Deft has he is even more susceptible. Beryl still with 50% of his cooldown remaining on his flash, and so there is a lot for Canyon to get done here as he's looking to start off this dragon.
There's nothing you can do. Realistically, like now Deft doesn't have his flash, meaning that the all-in pressure of this Gen.G bot lane going to be way stronger. And Canyon, one of the big weaknesses that I do think you have with the Zyra is obviously if you fall behind in tempo, I think the pick is really hard to play, right? If you start getting invaded, if you're getting pressured, look at the prio they have in their lanes!
Yeah, and BDD is trying to rotate over as Keen is just wandering through the enemy jungle. What is going on?
Is he gonna, I was about to say, is he, and while the funniest part of me is that while all of this is happening, Chovy's like, I got my call, I got my tear,
Beryl doesn't have his available, nor does Deft. They do want to be able to kill a minion or two to try and get level 6. As now Pays going to get turned on. Still level 5 to level 6 from Pays, but in comes Canyon. There's the flash. Doesn't manage to get too much, but there is the hook from Lahens to lock down the kill for Pays once again. And so doesn't have flash anymore, of course. Used that in the last exchange. See whether he needs it though, as this big wave is stacking up, and oh no, the grasping roots will connect, but Goshik, he'll turn up immediately to get knocked up into the sky. Canyon locks down that first kill, and there's a hook once more. KT, it looked rough in game 1. It is looking absurdly difficult here in game number 2. Oh man, all right, Lahens, can he find the hook? Will he need to find the hook, I guess, is the question. As Pyoshik is going to flash it, but still has to invest it. And Keen is still doing ridiculous things on the other side of the map. Chovy's Chovy. And Gen.G, I mean, this is just a much cleaner version.
Mana Munade coming for Muramana, slowly getting built towards as well with the tier stacking. And yeah, that's going to come down after Triforce, but that spike, they're not even going to need it. They're freaking gold up again.
He's gonna finish 2 items and he's gonna use it to kill a Nexus. As Lahens misses a hook, so that might be an opportunity here for KT, who have done a damage to a turret here. As now BDD fighting against Chovy, but Canyon, he shows up. Goshik in the area, he'll find a Glacial Prison this time to get the knock-up. Ulti comes through as well. Can they kill Canyon? The answer is yes, as it's the arrow landing from downtown that collects.
So an example of that there is, Pyoshik
gonna face check as Pyoshik does find the Winter's Wrath, and it does absolutely nothing. Kirby just makes it over to the rest of his team. Canyon gonna be able to lock down Drake number 2, and once again, it is that Chemtech Soul. You love to see it. Lehens are going to lose patience, and they do so. Jovi moves up towards this turret. Canyon uses his plants in order to save a couple of turret shots from these minions. May not necessarily be needed, but still cool little tech that you can do on the Zyra. And Deft is just trying to hold on to the minion wave in that mid lane. Keen still being frustrating, and the amount of pressure
First strike, as well as global gold, as well as his
Cull
call.
finished, yep.
Yeah, because he hasn't actually been involved on the map just yet. Herald comes down. Gen.G, I think they want to avoid what happened in the previous game where they were in this position and then, you know, they had a couple of team fights that didn't really go their way and the game got dragged out. Feels like everyone is playing it a lot cleaner this time.
Indeed. This time Keen able to move in. He's going to play that front line. They managed to get the charge. It was Lehens, and Lehens is going to dive back in again. Use Shelly as a little bit of a speed boost, moving down towards that bottom side. Look at that. Drift King. Clipping through the walls and may just die, but it was very cool drifting, Lehens. Really nicely done. Love that.
Look at his face! Yeah. That's the most Lehens moments.
That's the most Rift Herald moment
That's your
we've had.
MSI Finals MVP right there.
Yeah. Lots to do. Vision now going down as this dragon has been started up. Soul point available for Gen.G as they teleport in. Jovi looking to make his way over. Pyosik using the walk tactic very nicely, but so's Keen, and his does some damage. Pyosik gonna have to get out of there. Permafrost does come on through. There's the ulti, but Pays just dodges out of the way. And BDD not gonna have that for this next fight. Now Lehens moving down, wanting to find that rocket grab. We'll see whether he can get it as flashes abound. And that is another one. The ulti just gonna pick it up. Speaking of ultis, Lehens uses his circle as well. The bottom lane is eviscerated, and Gen.G never even really need to go for too much of a fight because KT were already on the ground.
Lehens has done this on Lulu as well, but the flash ultimate, right? Yeah. To guarantee the play.
I like how Pays kills Beryl with the ultimate, which is a circle around him. And then now he's 3,000 gold ahead. Perfect is probably dead here, as does manage to sidestep that one quite nicely, but the knockup still does come through, and Pei's gonna lock up his fourth. And that should mean that Gen.G can just waltz on over to this Baron, pick that one up for themselves, and then use that to empower the minions to take down the enemy base.
There's no winner. Like, eventually someone is either gonna overextend in side lane or get caught by a hook. Yeah. Right, once you're this far behind, we'll see. KT can maybe get some exit kills, maybe get a Hail Mary team fight.
All right, there's a Glacial Prison as Pyosik tries to find it. The arrow goes entirely wide, though, unfortunately. Redemption is not going to be found in this game as the Extendo Beam is going to force the ultimate out of BDD. He's running away with about 400 health, and Pyosik, he is a bit Owen Wilson, but I just don't think that's going to be the answer here as Keen, he's even going to look for him. Does not want to risk any sort of response. As, Lehens over the wall, Jovi over the wall, and there is the hook. That's going to connect. Jovi's going to lock it up with a rocket. And so there it is. BDD is the only one that is still alive. I mean, perfect that he's on the bottom side of the map with no teleport. It's going to be the Baron secured by against the relatively pure physical composition. Does now have 3 items that have armor in them. One of them being the one with all of the armor in it.
Yeah.
He was already ignoring everything.
Yeah, he's sitting at I saw 290 there.
Yeah.
For his armor. That's a lot of armor, Atlas.
It is quite a bit of armor as Pyosik is going to throw out the sad B. Pretty understandably so as well. As Mega Cone from Pays gets him right towards BDD. I think he's too worried, although BDD can still theoretically catch him as picks the gap there, does Pyosik. A little bit unfortunate as he manages to part the Red Sea, as it were. And a hook going to be avoided there with an Arctic Assault, but my goodness, the damage is just ridiculous. And they still have more in the tank, right? Canyon still with the Stranglecorns available as there is the Grasping Roots. He throws down that ultimate like I was talking about. And perfect, he has to get Wild Growth, but he's still taking so much damage. The hook is going to be avoided, so he'll be able to make it back to the fountain. But after they get their health bars back, where does the good news start for KT in this game?
There's no good news, Atlas. We both know that.
Yeah, it is.
It's not happening.
It's rocks and hard places, as we do like to talk about here in the LCK. And KT desperately trying to hold on, but it is just not going to work. It's 14,000 gold. Chovy walks at depth and Deft could do nothing about it as the rockets rain down. Nexus turret 1 will fall down, Nexus 2 sure to follow, and Gen.G just looking for a few extra kills as they melt them on their fountain. The MSI champions just toying with KT here, the only team that's been able to beat them in a best-of series this year, and it did not happen in the first round robin of summer. That's absolutely for sure.
Bueno, pues aquí tenemos esta contundente victoria por parte de Gen.G. Piosi, que el pobre que está un poco triste, Chovy, que ha hecho sin duda una gran partida. Aquí tenemos a la iglesia de Chovy haciendo de las suyas. Y nada, chicos, espero que os haya gustado el resumen, la verdad que lo hacemos con mucho cariño. Recordad que poco a poco iremos aumentando la cantidad de vídeos, ya sé que a todos os gusta mucho la LCK, la LPL, iremos poco a poco aumentando el ritmo, a ver si lo podemos llevar. Y nada, recordad que con vuestro me gusta, vuestros comentarios nos apoya muchísimo, nos da ese extra de ganas de seguir haciendo este trabajo. Y bueno, también ayuda un poquito a que se posicionen los vídeos y podamos seguir trabajando en ello. Un abrazo, chicos, nos vemos en la próxima. Chao.